chosen one. Heaven has pressed pause. The rhythm of eternity has stilled for you. Right now, the unseen realm holds its breath. Angelic ranks stand in silence, their wings folded, waiting for your answer. You may think this is just another moment, another passing voice through the noise of the world. But it is not. This is divine interruption. Heaven has aligned every second, leading to now, because your final assignment cannot begin until you say yes. You have felt the pull for some time, that quiet voice that speaks when everything else is silent. It never shouts, but it stirs something deep within you. Every sleepless night, when your heart burned without reason, every strange confirmation that appeared when you needed direction, those were not coincidences. They were divine signals, whispers sent from heaven's command center to remind you that you are not forgotten. The heavens have waited long enough, and now the Spirit of God calls you to rise. It is not by accident that you are hearing this right now. Your name is written in the scrolls of destiny. You have been chosen for a purpose that transcends time, and all of creation leans forward to see your response. Angels are stationed, their swords of light gleaming, waiting for your word to unlock what has been held in suspension. The moment you say yes, movement begins not only in your life, but in the lives of those connected to your obedience. The word of the Lord came through the prophet Daniel, chapter 10, verse 12. Do not be afraid, for from the first day you set your heart to understand and to humble yourself before your God. Your words were heard, and I have come in response to them. Yes, your words carry power in realms you cannot yet see. Heaven hears the trembling prayers, the silent cries, the whispered promises you thought were forgotten. The angels have not moved yet because they are waiting for that one word, the same word Daniel spoke in surrender, the same agreement that releases divine command. Yes, Lord, chosen one. The warfare you have faced was not punishment, it was proof. Proof that you are carrying something hell cannot stand. The pressure, the isolation, the endless cycle of almost breaking but never breaking it was training. Every wound you carry is now a seal of authority. The battles you survived have built an endurance that darkness fears. You are the one they couldn't silence, the one who still believes when everything else failed. And now, the throne room stirs. The King has spoken your name again. The hosts of heaven are assembling, awaiting the activation that only comes from your agreement. The command has already been given, but heaven will not overstep your free will. That is why the atmosphere feels tense, because creation is waiting for cooperation. You stand between what was promised and what will manifest. Your yes is the bridge. Do not underestimate this moment. Do not dismiss it as coincidence. This message is not here to entertain you, it is here to awaken you. You are hearing this because heaven has scheduled it into your timeline. You have reached the crossroads between delay and destiny. One word will shift the direction of your life forever. You have cried for change, for clarity, for purpose. This is the answer. It was never that heaven was silent, it was that heaven was waiting. Every unanswered prayer, every prolonged season, it has led to this final instruction. God has placed before you the key, but He will not turn it for you. That belongs to your obedience. So, breathe. Feel the divine weight of this hour. The same presence that surrounded Daniel surrounds you now. Angels stand at your side, listening for the sound of surrender that will send them into motion. Your spirit knows what your mind cannot explain, that this is the moment when everything shifts. When you whisper your yes, the unseen will tremble. The heavens will record it, and the earth will respond. The resistance will fade, and the purpose you've carried will begin to bloom. Your yes is not a small act. It is the ignition of a divine sequence that cannot be undone. If your spirit bears witness, type 777 inches. The comments, a prophetic symbol of divine completion and covenant alignment. And if this word has stirred something in you, make sure you like, share, and subscribe, not for numbers, but for obedience. Every act of sharing releases the word into another heart that heaven has been calling. This is not about attention, it is about activation. Chosen one. Heaven has paused. Time for you. The angels are standing by. Your assignment waits. The only thing left is your yes. The whisper came before the storm. It was soft, almost too quiet to notice, yet it carried a weight that pierced through everything around you. It was not a thought that you created, nor a feeling you could explain. It was a voice ancient as light itself, calling you by name. You didn't hear it with your ears, you felt it in your bones. That was the moment heaven marked you. You remember the first time you sensed it. It was never a thunderous shout. It was more like a pull, a divine gravity drawing your soul towards something greater. You tried to dismiss it, told yourself it was just emotion. But it kept returning. It followed you into the silence, into the in-between places where no one could see your struggle. That whisper has been your shadow, your companion, your constant reminder that you were never meant for ordinary things. There were seasons when you fought against it. You ran in every direction, trying to escape the call, hoping that if you filled your life with noise, the voice would fade. But heaven is percent. The whisper never left. It echoed in the laughter of strangers, in the ache of disappointment, in every door that closed and every new one that opened. It spoke through dreams, through moments too coincidental to explain. The whisper was not chasing you, it was leading you home. It was not just calling you to do something, it was calling you to become something. The whisper was an awakening, a reminder that your existence was never random. Somewhere before time began, your spirit agreed to carry a divine task. And when the hour came, heaven's whisper returned to remind you of what you already knew. But destiny always demands a response. That's why the whisper grows louder the longer you resist. It is not content to leave you where comfort hides you. The call of God will unsettle you until you surrender, because the world needs what you carry. And heaven will not allow your potential to die quietly. The Word of God reveals through the prophet Jeremiah. Chapter 1, verse 5. Before I formed you in the womb, I knew you. Before you were born, I set you apart and appointed you as a prophet to the nations. You were known before you were visible, set apart before you were understood, appointed before you even believed you could be used. That is why you've never fit in completely, because what is holy rarely fits into what is common. The whisper reminds you that your identity is not found in what the world calls you, but in what heaven declared about you before the beginning. When God calls your name, He speaks to the version of you that already exists in eternity. He doesn't speak to your fear, your weakness, or your confusion. He speaks to your purpose. Every word from heaven carries within it the power to awaken what has been asleep. And that's what the whisper has done. It has stirred the sleeping parts of you, calling you back to your divine nature. You might wonder why the whisper feels so heavy, why it seems to cost so much to obey it. It is because obedience always comes before revelation. Heaven tests willingness before releasing clarity. You were never being punished. You were being prepared. Every delay was not denial, it was formation. The whisper was shaping your spirit to recognize the sound of God without needing proof. And even now, as you read these words, that same whisper resonates. It's not outside of you anymore. It's within. Heaven no longer speaks from a distance. It speaks through your spirit. Because you and heaven are now aligned in one purpose, to complete what was started before the world began. You are not waiting for a new call. You are remembering an old one. And each time your heart stirs, each time your spirit trembles with recognition, you are hearing the echo of the original assignment you were born to fulfill. The whisper that began your journey will be the same voice that guides you through every valley, every battle, and every breakthrough ahead. Do not question it anymore. You are not imagining this. The whisper was never meant to make sense. It was meant to make history. Heaven spoke your name, and the world has been shifting ever since. It grows louder in the silence, shaping your spirit for what's next. Heaven doesn't rush it, refines until your yes matches divine timing. Every breath you take now vibrates with purpose. The whisper has become a roar, calling you to remember destiny is waiting, and angels are already moving. The waiting has been long, hasn't it? You stand between what God promised and what you can see, a place that tests even the strongest hearts. Every morning you wake up wondering if today will be the day heaven finally moves. You've prayed, fasted, cried, and believed, yet the silence continues. It feels like time stands still, like you are frozen in divine suspension while everyone else moves forward. But what you don't realize is that heaven is not ignoring you. Heaven is staging your breakthrough. When God delays, He is not denying. When He hides, He is building strength inside you that cannot be broken by applause or disappointment. This quiet season is not a punishment. It is training for glory. Every hidden moment, every unanswered prayer, every not yet, it's sharpening your discernment. You are learning to hear the movement of heaven in the smallest whispers. You are learning to trust God's heart even when you can't trace His hand. You see, waiting seasons are holy classrooms. Heaven teaches through silence. What feels like stillness is often spiritual surgery, cutting away fear, doubt, and dependency on the approval of others. In the quiet, God strips away your need to be seen and replaces it with the desire to be ready. It was written in the book of Habakkuk, chapter 2, verse 3. For the vision is yet for an appointed time, though it tarries. Wait for it, because it will surely come. It will not delay. This is not a vague hope. It is a divine guarantee. The vision is real, but it is governed by timing. Heaven works with precision, not speed. The vision will not come early, but it will not come late either. God's timing is not measured in minutes, it is measured in maturity. And that's what this waiting is about, the maturing of your spirit until your character matches your calling. Think of Joseph in the prison, David in the fields, Esther in the shadows. Each one waited until their preparation caught up with their promise. You are in that same divine pattern. You are being refined quietly, so that when the moment of revealing comes, nothing in you will collapse under the weight of destiny. And while you wait, angels watch. They are stationed near you, holding back forces that would crush you prematurely. The silence you feel is not emptiness, it is heaven's stillness before release. Even the angels know that obedience requires divine rhythm. They do not rush ahead of the command, they wait for heaven's signal to move. And so must you. The waiting season is shaping your obedience into something beautiful. You are learning to serve without spotlight, to trust without confirmation, to stand when everything shakes. This is how heaven forges generals of faith. Every hidden day is a seed of power. Every moment you choose faith over frustration, you declare to the darkness, "I will not give up," and hell trembles, because persistence is faith's loudest roar. Chosen one, there's a mystery in divine delay. God slows you down so he can catch you up to his purpose. He holds you in pause so that when it's time, you move in perfect sync with his will. You won't have to force doors open, they will unlock at your arrival. You won't have to prove yourself, your anointing will speak. So while you wait, lift your head. The silence is sacred. The stillness is strength. Heaven has not forgotten your name. It is preparing your stage. When the hour strikes, the same angels who now stand guard will move with divine precision. The waiting will end. The promise will unfold. And the vision will live. If this truth burns in your heart, type, "It will come," below, not as a wish, but as a decree. Say it because your spirit knows that the waiting is almost over. And heaven always keeps its word. Let your comment be your confirmation, your quiet agreement with divine timing. Heaven is listening, and the vision is on its way. Heaven counts your tears as seeds. Every moment you've waited has been recorded, stored in eternity's soil, ready to bloom into the very promise you once thought was lost. The silence you endure is not abandonment, it's alignment. Heaven is moving pieces you cannot see, weaving events together so that everything unfolds in perfect order. Not 1 second too soon. And when the waiting ends, it won't trickle, it will pour. Blessings will rush like rivers, released from restraint. Proof that delay was never denial, only divine orchestration for glory. Type, "It will come," below a declaration that your faith has outlasted frustration. Your patience has become power, and your waiting has turned into worship that commands heaven to move on your behalf. The war began quietly, long before you noticed. It wasn't a sudden explosion of darkness, it was subtle, like shadows stretching slowly across your peace. At first, you thought it was ordinary discouragement, another wave of exhaustion. But something deeper was happening. The closer you moved toward obedience, the louder the opposition became. Every time your spirit began to rise, something unseen pushed back. That's how you know this isn't coincidence, this is warfare. Darkness recognizes destiny before you do. The enemy never wastes energy on what is insignificant. The resistance you feel is not because you are weak, it is because you are dangerous. Your surrender threatens everything hell has tried to protect. The forces that once ignored you now surround you, because they've seen what happens when you fully obey. Heaven's light in you exposes everything that hides in shadow. You have to understand, the enemy does not attack potential, he attacks purpose. As long as you were uncertain, he left you alone. But the moment your spirit began to awaken, the moment you started to say yes, he moved in panic. He knows that one obedient chosen one can shift generations, dismantel curses, and ignite revival in territories that have slept too long. That is why the fight has intensified, because you are close. The Word of God reveals through the Apostle Paul in his letter to the Ephesians, chapter 6, verse 12, "For we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in heavenly places." This war is not about people. It is not about circumstances. It is spiritual, and it is personal. You are being opposed by systems designed to silence your obedience. Every distraction, every wave of doubt, every sudden conflict, these are not random. They are calculated strikes meant to make you question the sound you heard from heaven. But understand this: resistance is a prophecy. When hell fights you, it only confirms that heaven has chosen you. You have been surrounded, but not defeated. You have been pressed, but not crushed. You have been tempted to give up, but something inside refuses to stop. That something is the divine fire that hell cannot extinguish. Even when you felt faith fading, heaven kept a spark alive within you. That spark is about to become flame again. This battle you face is not to destroy you, it is to reveal you. Every warrior of light is forged in darkness. First, you learn your strength when everything else fails you. You discover your authority when no one comes to rescue you but God. And in that deep loneliness, you realize you were never alone. Angels move unseen around you. You may not see their light, but they have surrounded your steps. Every time danger approached unseen, they drew their swords. Every time despair whispered your name, they spoke your true identity in heaven's language. The battlefield may feel empty, but it is crowded with help. You cannot yet perceive. There is a mystery in warfare. God allows resistance to reveal readiness. He does not send you untested into your assignment. If you cannot face the whisper of the serpent now, you will not stand when the storm comes later. Every attack you've survived is part of your training. The tears you've cried were not wasted. They baptized your authority. And you, chosen one, have reached the point of no return. You've seen too much to go back. The world behind you no longer fits, and the world ahead is calling your name. The conflict is not a curse, it's a confirmation. Heaven's mark on you has made you a target, but it has also made you unstoppable. The nights you thought would break you have become your testimony. You've learned to worship with a trembling voice, to fight with shaking hands, to keep faith alive when nothing made sense. And that is the very faith that wins wars. Because the greatest weapon in this battle is not your strength, it's your endurance. Darkness can mimic light, but it cannot outlast it. It can roar, but it cannot remain. Every shadow that has lingered over your path is about to fade. Not because the enemy retreated, but because you refused to bow. You are walking proof that faith still overcomes fear, that purpose still outlasts pain. Do not despise the war. It's the sound of destiny under construction. The struggle means heaven is shifting things in your favor. Keep your eyes fixed on what cannot be seen, for that is where your victory is written. When this storm passes, and it will, you will not emerge the same. You will carry the authority of one who fought darkness and did not break. You are not losing. You are being revealed. You've come through the fire and not been consumed. The ashes beneath your feet tell the story of battles you were never meant to survive, yet here you are. Something in you refused to die. When everything around you whispered, "Quit," your spirit whispered back, "Not yet." That defiance of darkness, that quiet rising after defeat, is the flame of heaven still alive within you. The time of ashes is over. This is the moment when embers turn to fire again. The same God who allowed the storm is now breathing on what's left. What once felt like ruin is becoming the altar of renewal. You can feel it that's stirring inside you. The warmth returning to places that had gone cold. Heaven is rekindling your flame. Every tear that fell was not wasted. It watered the seed of your calling. The pain you thought broke you was the soil God used to plant deeper strength. Every why you asked in the dark is being answered now, not with explanations, but with transformation. You have changed. And that is the evidence that grace has been working. The Word of God speaks through the prophet Isaiah. Chapter 43, verse 2. When you walk through the fire, you will not be burned. The flames will not set you ablaze. This was never about avoiding fire. It was about proving that you could walk through it without losing your light. Your story will become a torch for others still trapped in smoke. You will be the reminder that survival is not the end. Revival is. As your flame rekindles, you begin to see differently. Where there was only smoke, now there's vision. Where there was only pain, now there's power. The same fire that tried to destroy you is now the very light guiding others home. You are not merely surviving anymore, you are glowing. Chosen one. Heaven did not restore you just for your own comfort. You are being reignited to ignite others. Your words, your story, your endurance. These are flames meant to spread. Every spark of encouragement you release lights another heart. And when light multiplies, darkness loses ground. When you like, share, and subscribe, you are not performing a gesture, you are fanning the flame. Each click is like blowing softly on a fragile ember so that it grows stronger, hotter, brighter. The message travels beyond your screen and lands where despair still hides, awakening another soul who thought heaven had forgotten them. And listen, there's more to this fire. When you donate, it's not a transaction, it's oil poured onto the lamp. You're not paying for light, you're keeping it alive. Think of it as laying another piece of wood on the altar so the flame never dies out. It's voluntary, sacred, and deeply human. A simple act that tells heaven, I want the fire to keep burning. Lon, somewhere tonight. A heart is trembling in the dark. They are scrolling through silence, praying for one word that proves God still sees them. Your giving becomes the match in their midnight, the spark that brings them home. It's not obligation, it's overflow. Only those who've walked through darkness know how precious light is. Like, share, subscribe, or give not out of duty, but out of love. These are not buttons, they are candles. Every one you light sends warmth into another life. It is your way of whispering to the world, you are not forgotten. The flame still lives. And because every act of faith, every seed of generosity, every shared word of hope, it all becomes part of heaven's wildfire of redemption. Together, we make sure no light goes out, no voice fad, and no heart feels forgotten. You have come through the ashes to become flame again. Now carry that fire forward. Keep it burning. Keep it spreading until every shadow has seen the glow of grace. The embers you carry are holy. Each spark in you has been refined by trial, designed not just to warm your world, but to ignite forgotten faith in others who stand where you once fell. Let your flame travel beyond you. When one heart burns with truth, another catches fire. Soon, 1,000 unseen candles glow together, forming constellations of light across the landscape of despair. Even a whisper of hope can shift an atmosphere. Your story, spoken softly, becomes thunder in someone else's silence, proof that darkness cannot win where even one light still breathes. So, walk forward as a living torch. The fire in you is sacred inheritance. Carry it gently. Shine it freely. And remember, your light is the language through which heaven still speaks to earth. There are moments in every calling when the signs begin to align. You start noticing things that others overlook: patterns, symbols, words that seem to follow you from day to day. These are not coincidences. They are signals from heaven, subtle confirmations that you are walking in divine rhythm. The kingdom often speaks in whispers, not thunder. Those who listen carefully hear the language of alignment before anyone else does. You have felt it recently, that strange stirring in your spirit, that sense that something unseen is shifting. You can't explain it, but you know it's real. Heaven is arranging things in your favor. The pieces that never seemed to fit are starting to make sense. The relationships that ended, the doors that closed, the detours that confused you, they were all rearranged to position you for this next assignment. The Word of God reminds us through the book of Proverbs, chapter 16, verse 9, "A man's heart plans his way, but the Lord directs his steps." Oh, yes, you have planned, dreamed, and worked. But the steps that truly matter, the ones that lead to destiny, have been guided by a hand you cannot see. The delays, the disappointments, the diversions were not interruptions, they were navigation. Heaven has been steering you toward the exact place where purpose will meet obedience. And now, chosen one, the prophetic signals have begun to appear. You've seen them in numbers, in phrases, in quiet moments that felt charged with meaning. These are heaven's way of saying, you're close. The air feels different. The atmosphere is charged. It's as if creation itself is holding its breath, waiting for your next move. There's a holy electricity around you now, a sense of expectancy that cannot be explained, but only felt. Angels are repositioning. Doors you thought were sealed are beginning to vibrate with possibility. The time for wondering is over. This is the hour of recognition. But don't rush. Listen. The same Spirit that sends signs also gives discernment. Heaven will never shout when it can whisper, because only those who walk closely can hear clearly. The signs you see are not just to comfort you. They are invitations. Invitations to trust more deeply, to align more closely, to obey more quickly. When you see patterns, repeating words, images, even numbers, ask heaven, what are you confirming? Sometimes the smallest sign carries the largest instruction. God rarely sends lightning, He sends light. And that light is always enough to take one more step forward. According to the book of Job, chapter 33, verse 14, for God does speak now one way, now another, though no one perceives it. He has been speaking all along. through songs that echoed your story, through strangers who unknowingly spoke destiny into your ear, through moments that felt too precise to be random. Heaven is not silent, it's strategic. And now, in this season, you are being taught to recognize his patterns so that obedience becomes instinct, not effort. This is why sensitivity is your greatest weapon. You cannot afford to live distracted anymore. Every time you choose stillness over chaos, clarity over noise, you tune your heart to the frequency of heaven. The prophetic signal isn't just around you, it's inside you. The Spirit that raised Christ from the dead dwells within you, translating divine rhythm into human steps. The more you listen, the clearer it becomes. You'll start to notice divine timing in every detail, a conversation you didn't expect, an opportunity that feels too perfect to be luck. This is not random. It's revelation. And right now, heaven is confirming this word through a number of alignment, 888, a symbol of new beginnings, of eternal flow, of the season where endings turn into open doors. When you type 888 below, it's not superstition, it's a declaration that you recognize heaven's timing. You're not forcing doors anymore, you're following direction. You're not chasing signs, you're aligning with them. Type it as your acknowledgement. 880, the sign that you are stepping into divine rhythm, trusting that heaven's plan will not miss its mark in your life. As you write it, let your spirit whisper, I'm ready for what's next. And because heaven is signaling, the angels are in motion, and your willingness to perceive will open the gates for miracles to unfold. Heaven's rhythm now beats within you, steady and sure. Every breath becomes agreement with divine timing. Every step a silent echo of obedience, fulfilling ancient promises written in light. You are aligned, awakened, and aware. The signs no longer confuse you, they confirm you. What once felt hidden is unfolding, and the path before you burns with unmistakable heavenly direction. The moment arrives quietly. It doesn't come with thunder or fanfare, but with stillness. You feel it before you see it, the weight in the air, the shift in your spirit. Heaven is opening a scroll, one that carries your name, written in light. For years, it has been sealed, waiting for this precise hour when you would finally be ready to read what has been written about you since before time began. This is the scroll of assignment, the divine record of what only you were born to fulfill. Every soul has one, but few ever reach the point of opening it. It cannot be forced, and it cannot be faked. The seal breaks only when surrender meets readiness, when the heart no longer runs from what it was created to carry. You have reached that place. The scroll is not made of paper, it is written upon your spirit. You will not see it with your eyes, but you will feel it, that unmistakable sense that something larger than you has come alive within. The words of heaven become the beat of your heart. The vision, once clouded by fear, now begins to take shape with clarity. The mystery is being unveiled. The Book of Psalms, chapter 139, verse 16, reveals this truth. Your eyes saw my unformed body. All the days ordained for me were written in your book before one of them came to be. No, you were never random. You were written. Every season, every detour, every heartbreak, it has all been inked into your scroll by divine design. Even the mistakes that made you question your worth were accounted for in the script of grace. God never edits with regret. He weaves redemption into every line. What the enemy meant to erase has only deepened the meaning of your story. As the scroll unfolds, you begin to see how the pieces fit. What once felt scattered suddenly connects with purpose. The jobs that didn't last, the people who left, the moments that felt meaningless, they were all fragments of a larger design. The scroll reveals that nothing was wasted, not even the pain. Heaven never wastes a wound. When you walk according to your assignment, something within you settles. The anxiety that once haunted you begins to fade because purpose brings peace. The noise of comparison disappears. You no longer chase validation. You realize that what you carry cannot be replicated, and your pace cannot be rushed. The scroll carries no competition, only completion. The instructions of the scroll are rarely loud. They come as impressions, gentle nudges, moments of divine clarity that whisper, "This way," and as you obey, the path unfolds one step at a time. Heaven never reveals the entire journey, only the next step, because the walk itself is what strengthens your faith. You might not understand every detail yet, but you will sense its rhythm. Some parts of your assignment will stretch you beyond comfort. Others will heal what you thought was broken forever. You will be sent to people who need what only you can give: your story, your compassion, your resilience. The scroll does not just call you to speak, it calls you to become the message. Every divine assignment carries both weight and wonder. The weight humbles you, the wonder sustains you. You will feel moments of resistance, but that is because your obedience threatens everything that thrives in darkness. Heaven trusts you with this because it knows you will not quit halfway. The scroll also carries protection. When you walk within it, grace surrounds you like armor. The right doors open naturally, the wrong ones close with peace. You will not have to force anything that is written for you. The same hand that wrote your assignment will guard it. Take a moment and breathe that truth in. You are standing in the unfolding of what was always meant to be. The scroll is open, the ink alive, the words pulsing with light. You no longer chase, meaning you carry it. What once felt uncertain now feels sacred. You finally understand why it all happened the way it did. The scroll was never delayed. It was waiting for your readiness. And now that your yes has aligned with heaven's timing, the divine script of your life has turned its next page. Walk with reverence, but walk with confidence. The assignment is not a burden. It is your becoming. Every step from here on is prophecy in motion. Every breath, another sentence written in heaven's handwriting. You are not just in the story. You are the story heaven decided to tell through human form. You stand before the open scroll, and its light fills the air around you. Yet, even as revelation unfolds, another presence rises, inside fear. Not the kind that screams, but the quiet trembling of a heart that knows what obedience might cost. Heaven never hides the weight of calling. It reveals it gently, letting your spirit taste both the beauty and the burden of yes. The reluctance comes naturally. You've seen what obedience demands. You know that to say yes is to walk away from comfort, from explanations, from control. To say yes is to surrender not just your plans, but your idea of safety. The human heart craves clarity, but faith rarely offers it. God does not show you the whole staircase, only the next step, and that uncertainty feels terrifying. So you hesitate. You love the idea of purpose, but the reality of it is heavier than expected. You think of the people who will not understand, of the things you'll have to let go, of the price your obedience might require. You ask quietly, "What if I'm not ready? What if I'm not strong enough?" And heaven answers, "You never were meant to be strong enough, only willing." Endo. The reluctance you feel does not disqualify you, it humanizes you. Every chosen one hesitated before saying, "Yes." Moses trembled. Esther cuestioned. Jonah ran. Even Jeremiah tried to refuse. But heaven does not select the fearless, it selects the faithful. Fear only means that what you are facing is greater than yourself. And that is exactly where God begins to move. The book of Exodus, chapter 4, verse 12, records the Lord's assurance. "Now go, I will help you speak and will teach you what to say." You are not being sent alone. The same presence that called you will go with you. The same voice that whispered destiny into your heart will guide every word, every step, every moment ahead. Your obedience does not depend on your confidence, it depends on His constancy. Heaven never demands perfection, only partnership. You have carried dreams that felt too big, ideas that seemed impossible, visions that made no sense. Those were not fantasies, they were fragments of your assignment. And though fear tries to convince you otherwise, everything you need is already within you. You are not waiting for another sign, heaven is waiting for your surrender. The reluctance you feel is not rebellion, it's reverence. You sense the holiness of what's before you. It is no small thing to carry heaven's message in human skin, but grace makes it possible. The same fire that calls you will sustain you. And as you yield, fear begins to lose its grip, replaced by quiet courage, the kind that grows not from emotion, but from trust. You don't have to roar your yes. Sometimes it's a whisper, a trembling agreement that still shakes the gates of darkness. Heaven measures obedience, not by volume, but by sincerity. A whispered yes has moved more mountains than 1,000 confident speeches. The journey ahead will stretch you, yes, but it will also reveal the version of you heaven always saw. The reluctant yes will turn into radiant confidence as you see what God can do through surrender. And one day, you will look back and realize that every hesitation was the birthplace of deeper faith. So take a moment here. Breathe. Let the presence of heaven steady your pulse. You don't have to be fearless to move forward. You only have to be faithful. Obedience is not the absence of fear. It is the decision to walk despite it. You may tremble, but the ground beneath you is holy. You may doubt, but the one who called you does not. Heaven has never asked you to perform, only to trust. And as your spirit leans into that trust, you will feel strength rising from a place you didn't know existed. Quiet, steady, unbreakable. The reluctance fades as peace enters, not the peace that removes challenge, but the peace that assures victory. You realize then that your yes is not just for you, it is for the lives your obedience will touch, for the hearts that will find healing through the courage you are about to release. And so, trembling yet determined, you exhale. The fear remains, but it no longer leads. Your yes begins to form, not as a shout, but as a vow whispered into eternity's ear. Heaven hears it, angels mark it, and in that sacred breath, the reluctant yes becomes the sound that sets destiny in motion. The moment your yes leaves your spirit, heaven erupts in motion. You may not see it, but the unseen world bursts into light. The silence that once felt endless now hums with activity. Obedience has a sound, and in the heavens, it's thunder. The angels have been waiting for this. The instant your will aligned with God's, divine ranks shifted into formation, swords drawn, wings unfurled. Every celestial soldier knows their assignment: to surround, to defend, and to prepare the way for what comes next. Your yes has activated an army. This is what few understand, that obedience does not just change your circumstances, it changes the atmosphere. Heaven does not respond to emotion, it responds to alignment. The moment your heart echoed God's will, command signals rippled through realms unseen. Angels who had stood still for years now move at the sound of your surrender. It is written in the book of Psalms, chapter 34, verse 7. The angel of the Lord encamps around those who fear him, and he delivers them. Even now, that promise becomes reality. The atmosphere around you has shifted. There is movement in the unseen. Where you once felt isolated, you are now surrounded. The angels of the Lord are encamped, their light forming a shield you cannot see but can feel. Every doubt that whispered, "You're alone," has been silenced. Heaven has you covered. When angels move, they do not stumble. They carry precision, following divine coordinates with flawless accuracy. One protects your path, another guards your mind, another watches over the promises written in your scroll. Each one is assigned to a detail of your destiny. And though you may feel small on the battlefield, you are backed by the armies of heaven. The presence of angels does not make the road easy, but it makes it victorious. Their strength is not just to fight for you, but to fortify you, to remind you that you are not walking into this next season unguarded. Every assignment attracts resistance, but every obedient heart attracts angelic protection. The unseen world is more alive than you can imagine. There are songs of victory rising, prayers being woven into plans, divine messengers carrying instructions toward you, even now. Some you will meet as people, a stranger who appears at the right time, a voice that speaks the right words. Others will move invisibly, shifting circumstances in ways you'll never fully grasp. You may sense their presence, a warmth when you pray, a peace in chaos, a sudden knowing that you are not walking alone. Those are not emotions, those are encounters. Angels do not seek attention, only obedience. They move when heaven commands, and heaven moves when you obey. So take courage. What comes next will require strength, but you are no longer standing unarmed. The same voice that called your name has now surrounded you with divine protection. No weapon formed against you can prosper, because before it reaches you, it must first pass through the armies that guard you. Heaven's strategy is unfolding. You don't have to fight every battle. Some victories are handled by angels you'll never see. All you must do is remain in obedience, and heaven will take care of what your strength cannot. And if your spirit bears witness to this truth, if you can sense the movement even now, type, "They are here." It's not a chant, it's a recognition, an acknowledgement that the unseen has become active, that heaven's messengers have surrounded your life. Write it not out of curiosity but conviction. You know that your obedience has awakened protection. They are here. These 3 words are your agreement with heaven's reality. When you declare them, you are aligning your words with what already exists. an army of light positioned for your victory. Hold your peace. Chosen one, the angels are not just near, they are engaged. The war that once raged against you now fights for you. What you cannot carry, they will lift. What you cannot see, they already guard. Heaven's army moves at the speed of your yes. And now, the battle is turning. The air feels alive around you now, lighter, charged with holy motion. The same silence that once pressed on your chest now vibrates with unseen wings cutting through darkness. You don't need to strain to see them, you only need to believe. Faith is the vision of the invisible. Every breath you take confirms heaven's nearness. Type, "They are here." Andrew, write it as recognition. Not request a quiet declaration that you understand. Divine help has arrived. Heavenly order is active, and the realm of light has officially taken its place around you. When heaven speaks, the sound doesn't always come as thunder. Sometimes it comes as fire. You feel it now, that warmth inside, that quiet but unstoppable conviction that what you once doubted is suddenly clear. The same God who whispered to you in stillness now speaks with flame. This is the moment where his voice doesn't just inform you, it transforms you. The voice of fire doesn't demand, it invites. It calls not through fear, but through love that burns away hesitation. It is a holy warmth, melting the frost of doubt that's gathered around your heart. You feel lighter, clearer, alive. It's as if every word from heaven has become oxygen to your spirit. The word of God declares in the book of Jeremiah, chapter 20, verse 9, His word is in my heart like a fire shut up in my bones. I am weary of holding it in. Indeed, I cannot. You felt that fire before, when a simple message pierced your heart, when a song made your soul tremble, when tears came and you couldn't explain why. That's the fire Jeremiah spoke of. It's not destruction, it's purification. It consumes only what holds you back, and once it starts burning, you can't contain it. This fire is not meant to hurt you, it's meant to reveal you. It burns away the fear of what others think, the ashes of past mistakes, the residue of shame that tried to dim your light. It leaves behind only gold pure, glowing, untouchable. That's what God is doing in you right now. He's refining your voice, preparing it to carry truth. When you speak after the fire, your words will no longer be ordinary. They will carry weight, presence, and power. People won't just hear you, they will feel you. Because it won't be you speaking, it will be the fire speaking through you. This is why your story matters. Your experiences, the pain, the waiting, the victories, they are fuel. And every time you share what God has done, the flame spreads. Someone in darkness sees the light and finds their way home. That's the beauty of fire. It cannot remain with one person. It longs to multiply. When you like, share, or subscribe, you are not feeding an algorithm, you are feeding a flame. Every click, every repost, every small act is like opening a window so that light can escape into another room. Somewhere out there, someone is sitting in silence, waiting for that spark. You become heaven's messenger when you help carry the flame forward. And for those who choose to give, to donate, know this: it isn't payment, it's participation. Giving is like pouring oil into a lamp. You are not fueling a person, you are fueling purpose. It's an act of partnership. a sacred choice that says, let the fire keep burning. Imagine a great field, at night, cold, empty, and still. Then one torch rises, then another, and soon hundreds of small flames begin to shimmer across the darkness. That's what your giving does. It turns isolation into illumination. You may never meet the people whose lives are touched by your generosity, but heaven keeps a record of every spark you release. When you like, it's a nod to the light. When you share, it's a seed of hope. When you subscribe, it's saying, I want to stay near the fire. Oh, and when you donate, it's whispering, let others feel this warmth too. Oh, no one is ever forced. Light never manipulates. It simply shines. You give because you have been given to. You share because you remember the cold. You support because you want the fire to reach someone who has forgotten what warmth feels like. So if this message has stirred something in you, a memory, a tear, a quiet spark of faith, then let that be your guide. Do what feels right. If it's a like, let it be genuine. If it's a share, let it be in love. If it's a gift, let it be in gratitude. Because every sincere act becomes part of the story heaven is writing through us all. And as you do, know this, your flame is part of a divine wildfire. Together, we are setting the night ablaze with hope, with truth, with light that darkness cannot comprehend. The voice of fire is calling not to consume you, but to ignite you. Let your heart be the altar. Let your obedience be the match. Let your generosity be the oil. And let your life, from this moment on, burn brightly enough that others will find God's warmth through you. Night settles around you, but it feels different now. The darkness that once felt suffocating has softened, as if even the shadows know that something holy is near. You are standing at the threshold, that sacred in-between place where endings become beginnings. Heaven calls this the crossing. This is the moment when everything shifts. It doesn't happen with noise or chaos, but with quiet certainty. The air feels thick with unseen presence. Your spirit senses the line you are about to step over. Behind you are the echoes of doubt, delay, and hesitation. Ahead of you waits fulfillment. The landscape of promises long deferred, but never denied. Every destiny has a midnight, a moment when the old self cannot go any farther and the new self must rise. This crossing is not about movement in distance, it's about movement in identity. You are leaving behind who you thought you were to become, who you were always meant to be. The old mind cannot carry the new mission. It is written in the book of Isaiah, chapter 43, verse 19. See, I am doing a new thing, now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I am making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland. God never rebuilds using old blueprints. What He is creating through you has never existed before. That's why it feels uncertain, because there's no precedent. You are walking through a place where logic ends and promise begins. The path may feel invisible, but each step you take in faith becomes solid beneath your feet. You will notice that this crossing feels lonely, not because heaven has withdrawn, but because no one else can take this step for you. Destiny is always personal. There are seasons meant for crowds, but this one is meant for communion, just you and the voice that has led you this far. The crowd celebrated you when the fire burned. But now, as the night deepens, Heaven walks closer than any friend could. The journey across midnight is delicate. The past will call out, reminding you of its comfort. Familiar fears will try to whisper you back into hesitation. But you are not the same soul that once trembled in uncertainty. You have faced the storm, and you carry its lessons like armor. You now know that peace is not found in safety, it is found in surrender. There is a sacred beauty in this quiet passage. You begin to see memories not as mistakes, but as training. The pain taught you discernment. The loss taught you compassion. The waiting taught you patience. Heaven wastes nothing. Even what broke you became the bridge that carries you forward. As you walk, the air changes. It feels lighter, yet weightier in meaning. You realize that the wilderness behind you is fading. The dawn ahead is pulling you forward. It's not about speed anymore. It's about alignment. Every heartbeat matches the rhythm of God's timing. Every step echoes eternity's confidence. You were meant to arrive here. You may not notice it yet, but your spirit has already crossed. The fear that once bound you now watches helplessly from behind. The doubts that once shouted now whisper and fade. You have stepped into the unknown and discovered that it was never empty. It was waiting for you. The midnight crossing is not just the end of delay, it's the beginning of manifestation. What you have prayed for begins to take form. What you have endured begins to make sense. The promises you held in faith begin to breathe. It feels almost surreal. But that's how divine reality first appears: subtle, certain, sacred. Take a deep breath. Feel the quiet joy rising in your chest. That's not emotion, it's recognition. Your soul knows this place. It's the border between testing and testimony, between calling and completion. You are standing where heaven writes new beginnings. From this moment on, you will not walk as one waiting for fulfillment, but as one carrying it. The wilderness has done its work. The river of purpose flows ahead. Step fully now. Don't look back. What waits beyond this midnight is not another trial. It's morning. The horizon before you begins to glow faintly, a silver thread pulling night apart. Hope doesn't shout. It hums softly beneath your every heartbeat. You realize dawn isn't coming toward you. You are walking into it. Light rises to meet the one who finally dares to move forward. Every shadow behind you bows to this brightness. What once felt endless now closes gently, and peace settles like morning mist. You have crossed. The wilderness is behind you, and purpose unfolds with the calm of a new sunrise. The first light of morning breaks across your spirit, and you feel it, the seal of heaven settling gently upon your life. It's not loud or showy, it's quiet, steady, unshakable. The covenant has been sealed. You sense that something within you has been completed, that heaven has signed its mark upon your obedience. This is not the end of your journey, but the confirmation of it. The covenant seal is invisible to the eye, but unmistakable to the spirit. It's that peace that no storm can steal, that strength that rises when everything else falls apart. You don't earn it, you receive it. It's heaven's way of saying, I recognize you. The seal is not for appearance, it's for protection. It identifies you in the unseen as one who belongs to divine purpose. The Word of God declares in the book of Ephesians, chapter 1, verse 13, when you believed, you were marked in Him with a seal, the promised Holy Spirit. You have been marked not by circumstance, not by pain, not by people's opinions, but by the Spirit himself. And this mark carries authority. It speaks even when you are silent. It tells darkness, "You cannot touch this one." It tells heaven, "This one is mine." And it tells your soul, "You are covered," even when you don't feel strong. That's what divine sealing does. It makes you untouchable in purpose. The trials will still come, but they will no longer define you. The seal announces your ownership, your identity, and your protection. You carry heaven's signature. Every step you take leaves the imprint of divine presence. From this day forward, you walk differently. You may not notice it immediately, but others will. They'll sense something about you, not pride, not perfection, but presence, the kind of peace that can't be faked, the kind of confidence that comes from knowing you are backed by heaven. The seal of the Spirit turns ordinary lives into living covenants. This seal doesn't make you superior, it makes you surrendered. It's a reminder that your power doesn't come from striving, but from staying aligned, staying humble, staying faithful. That's how the mark shines brightest, through consistency when no one's watching. You are now in a different category of calling. Heaven has branded your obedience as legitimate. The angels who surround you know it. The darkness that once tormented you recognizes it. The battles you used to fight alone will now be handled by the covering that accompanies this seal. You are no longer exposed. There will still be tests, but they will no longer shake you, they will shape you. You will begin to move with quiet confidence, knowing that every storm only proves what is already settled. When you're sealed, failure doesn't define you, it refines you. Delays don't discourage you, they direct you. And even silence doesn't scare you, because sealed hearts know that heaven's quiet is still protection. The mark on you is not a brand of religion, it is the breath of relationship. It means you carry God's presence everywhere you go. Every conversation, every decision, every interaction becomes an opportunity for heaven to reveal itself through you. You have become the evidence that God keeps his promises. If your spirit feels the weight of this truth, acknowledge it now. The number of divine establishment, 555, represents grace multiplied and purpose confirmed. When you type 555 below, it's not ritual, it's recognition. It's saying, the covenant is sealed. I am established in grace. I type it as a testimony, as a moment between you and heaven. Each 555 you write becomes a whisper in the spirit realm, a signal that you know who you are and whose you are. You are marked not by your past, but by promise. And as you do, remember this, the seal doesn't fade. It doesn't crack under pressure. It glows brighter in adversity. The covenant is eternal, because the one who made it never breaks his word. You walk now not just as one chosen, but as one confirmed. Heaven sees your declaration as more than words. It is alignment. When you write it, heaven reads it as a signature, confirming that your heart stands firm beneath divine authority. Type 555, not as repetition, but revelation. Digit mirrors grace upon grace, echoing the Father's promise that what he begins, he will finish through you without failure or delay. Let it remind you, this seal is not temporary. It is eternal proof that mercy outran your mistakes and that grace has claimed your name forever. The covenant stands. The covering remains. and heaven will never revoke its mark from your life. The seal does not exempt you from storms, it empowers you through them. And soon after the mark is placed, the winds begin to rise again. You notice how quickly peace can turn into testing. That's the rhythm of divine training. Heaven establishes you, then allows the storm to prove what has been planted inside. The covenant seal isn't meant to keep the winds away. It's meant to make you unmovable when they come. This is the season of resistance. The enemy has seen your yes, and he will not stay silent. He knows he can't steal your calling, so he'll try to shake your confidence. His weapons are not always loud. Sometimes they come as subtle doubt, fatigue, or distraction. He'll whisper that you've misunderstood heaven's timing, that you've stepped out too soon, that you aren't really as strong as you think. But he underestimates what the seal has made of you. The Word of God declares through the Apostle Paul in the second letter to the Corinthians, chapter 4, verse 8, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." Those words aren't poetic comfort, they're a warrior's truth. You can feel the pressure, but you will not break. The same spirit that sealed you now anchors you. When the winds rise, they only reveal your rootedness. The shaking doesn't expose weakness, it exposes foundation. This is the storm of resistance, not meant to destroy you, but to display the authority you now carry. Every gust that strikes you must pass through the covering of heaven first. You may feel the impact, but not the injury. The waves can touch your boat, but they cannot sink what heaven has sealed. The storm teaches you discernment. Not every voice deserves your attention. Not every battle requires your sword. You are learning to sense what is merely noise and what carries divine instruction. The enemy thrives on distraction, but you have learned to stay centered, anchored not in outcomes, but in obedience. You will notice, 2. How old fears try to resurrect themselves. The same doubts that haunted your past will come knocking again, dressed in new disguises. They will speak the language of logic, but their intent is to drain your focus. This is where your authority must rise. You don't argue with lies, you outlast them. The truth inside you burns too deeply to be extinguished. Remember, storms don't come to remove you, they come to reveal you. When winds rage, roots are tested, and yours run deep now. Each strike against you strengthens what remains. The harder the wind blows, the brighter your endurance burns. You are learning that victory is not always a moment of triumph. Sometimes it is the quiet act of refusing to fall. You will feel heaven's presence, even in the storm, not always calming it, but standing beside you through it. The peace you carry now is not the absence of conflict, it is the proof of covenant. You walk through rain without drowning, through fire without burning, through chaos without losing focus. This is the maturity of the chosen. There will come a moment in this storm when you'll realize something sacred. You are no longer afraid of it. You once prayed for storms to stop. Now you understand, they serve you. Resistance reveals capacity. Every gust that comes against you now only confirms that you have become too steady to move. And when the clouds finally part, you'll see what the storm was hiding. Clarity. The horizon appears wider, brighter, more defined. What felt like delay was actually preparation. What seemed like chaos was calibration. Heaven was not testing your strength, it was proving your stability. You will emerge from this resistance not weary, but refined. The winds will have burned away the fragments of your old self. What remains is a spirit that cannot be shaken, a heart that trusts even when it cannot see. The storm you once feared will become your testimony, and your peace will speak louder than thunder ever could. As the last echoes of the storm fade, silence returns, not empty, but holy. You can almost hear heaven exhale, whispering, "It is done." End. The clouds break, revealing skies washed clean. What was once violent has become vivid, painted with light. You realize the storm wasn't punishment, it was proof. Peace settles like soft rain on your soul. You stand taller now, not because the wind stopped, but because you've learned to stand through it. The storm didn't change your destiny, it clarified it. The storm has passed, but something inside you feels different. You no longer measure strength by how loudly you fight, but by how deeply you trust. The chaos that once intimidated you has become a mirror, showing you what can't be broken. Out of the wreckage of fear, something new is forming, a calmness that is alive, a steadiness that breathes. This is the divine exchange. Heaven always works through exchange. God never takes without giving, never breaks without building, never wounds without healing. What you lost in the storm was never meant to remain. It was what blocked the next chapter from unfolding. Now, in the stillness, you begin to see how the pain prepared the ground for power. The book of Isaiah, chapter 61, verse 3, speaks of this sacred trade, to bestow on them a crown of beauty instead of ashes, the oil of joy instead of mourning, and a garment of praise instead of a spirit of despair. End of 20. These are not metaphors, they are promises. Heaven has always been in the business of divine exchange. Every tear shed was a seed of transformation. Every disappointment became a deposit into the vault of wisdom. Every scar that once embarrassed you now glows with meaning. God does not erase pain, He converts it. You are living proof that what was meant to break you became the material that built you. Look closely at your journey, the patterns of loss and restoration, of surrender and renewal. They tell a story written not in defeat, but in design. The valley was not a detour, it was a refinery. What came out of it was not just endurance, but authority. There's a gentleness that comes after breaking. You no longer rush to prove yourself. You no longer fight to be seen. The wounds you carry have taught you empathy, the kind that listens deeply, that understands the silent battles others endure. This is the exchange of heaven: pride for compassion, pain for purpose, striving for stillness. What once made you bitter now makes you wise. The memories that used to sting have turned into guidance. You can now speak from scars, not from open wounds. And when you do, others will feel the healing in your words, because they are touched by something real, the kind of truth that can only be forged in fire. There is beauty in what remains. The storm stripped away everything unstable, leaving only what can last. That's why you feel lighter now. Freer. The attachments that once controlled you no longer define you. You've exchanged performance for peace, reaction for rest, fear for faith. Heaven's arithmetic is different from the world's. In the divine economy, loss is never wasted. What feels subtracted is often multiplied in unseen ways. Every time you said, "I trust you," in pain, heaven added something eternal to your spirit: endurance, patience, discernment, depth. Those qualities cannot be taught in ease, they are born in surrender. As you reflect, you'll realize that power was never about control. It was about release. You did not become strong by holding tighter. You became strong by letting go. The divine exchange is not a transaction, it's transformation. It is the holy reversal that turns despair into hope and grief into growth. You are now walking proof that God redeems everything. The same hands that allowed the breaking are the ones that shaped beauty from its fragments. The pieces fit again, not as they were, but as they were meant to be. You are not returning to who you were before the storm. That version of you is gone. What stands now is something refined, radiant, and whole. The exchange is complete when gratitude replaces grief, and you can feel it, that quiet gratitude rising like morning light. You no longer ask, "Why me?" Instead, you whisper, "Thank you for trusting me with this." Because you see it now, the pain wasn't punishment. It was invitation, an invitation to know God not as an idea, but as a companion in the dark. Every great calling carries a great exchange. You cannot carry both comfort and calling at once. You must release one to receive the other. And though it costs much, what you gain is priceless. Peace that cannot be taken, faith that cannot be shaken, and love that cannot be lost. So, here you stand, not broken, but rebuilt, not fragile, but fortified. What was once pain has become purpose. What once felt like death has become resurrection. You are living the proof of divine exchange. Heaven took your ashes and returned beauty, and the fire that once consumed you now glows within, steady and eternal. When the exchange is complete, a silence settles that feels almost sacred. The air itself seems to hold its breath, as if creation is waiting for your next heartbeat. You've walked through shadow and come out carrying light. You've tasted loss and found wisdom in its aftertaste. What was once heavy now feels holy. The awakening of nations doesn't begin with noise. It begins with one transformed life. And that life is yours. Your obedience has sent ripples across unseen waters. What you carry now is not just personal victory, it's contagious hope. Somewhere, a weary soul will find strength because you refuse to give up. Heaven multiplies obedience like seeds scattered by the wind, small in the hand, yet infinite once released. The light that burns in you will not stop at your borders. It will travel. The Word of God declares in the book of Matthew, chapter 5, verse 14, "You are the light of the world. A city set on a hill cannot be hidden." You have become that city, not made of stone or walls, but of faith and fire. People will look at your endurance and remember that light is still stronger than darkness. They will listen to your words and hear echoes of the same voice that once called you from silence. You are not simply blessed, you are entrusted. The awakening of nations begins in quiet acts of courage, in one person choosing compassion over cynicism, forgiveness over vengeance, truth over convenience. Every gesture of grace you release adds another spark to the map of this world. You may never see the full flame your life ignites, but heaven keeps count of every soul touched by your obedience. And in that understanding comes another invitation, not of pressure, but of partnership. When you like, share, or comment, you are not just engaging, you are extending the flame. Think of it as lighting another lantern on this hill. Every word you share becomes a small bridge of light reaching into another soul's night. Someone who has forgotten hope might find it because you chose to pass the torch instead of keeping it to yourself. And when you comment, it's like striking a match in conversation, one spark of honesty that keeps the dialogue of light alive. Every word you write becomes proof that faith still speaks in human tongues, that the flame doesn't fade when hearts keep speaking hope aloud. When you subscribe, it's like planting a tree beside this fire, a promise to stay near the warmth, to grow with it, to shelter others who will one day come looking for light. You are not following a voice, you are joining a journey. And to those who feel the quiet nudge to donate, understand, giving is not obligation, it's art. It's the poetry of gratitude written in invisible ink. Every gift is like adding oil to a lamp. It doesn't make the fire yours. It keeps it alive for the next traveler lost in the dark. You are not funding words, you are fueling warmth. Every drop of kindness poured keeps the message glowing where despair once ruled. No one is compelled here. The beauty of light is that it never begs to be seen, it simply shines. And hearts decide on their own to draw near. If this fire has touched you, let your response be whatever your spirit whispers. For some, it will be a soft echo of, "I see the light." For others, a share, "Let them see too." For a few, it may be a gift. Keep this flame burning for those still finding their way. Oh, this is how awakening spreads, not through force, but through freedom. Each act of sincerity, however small, becomes a signal flare in heaven's vast night sky. 1,000 tiny lights joining to form one great constellation of faith. You are part of that constellation now. Your story is one of its stars. Your yes, your endurance, your generosity. They are the patterns heaven uses to guide others home. You may never know their names, but they will know your light. So let your life remain open, your spirit unguarded, your faith generous. When you like, share, comment, subscribe, or give, you are not completing a task, you are continuing a miracle. You are saying, "Inquiet, reverence. Let the fire I received become a fire for someone else." And somewhere, unseen, another heart will awaken not to your name, but to the same light that changed you. That is how nations awaken, one spark at a time, until the world itself begins to glow. The light that began within you has now become movement. You sense it, a rhythm in the air, a pulse that doesn't belong to one person, but to heaven's collective heartbeat. The angels who once stood watch are returning, their wings carrying reports of what obedience has accomplished. Each act of faith, each surrendered moment, has released something eternal into the earth. The atmosphere has shifted, not just around you, but through you. When heaven sends its messengers back, it is never without purpose. Angels do not wander, they return bearing testimony. They bring the evidence of victory, the fulfillment of prayers once whispered in the dark. Their arrival marks the end of one chapter and the beginning of another. You can almost feel it, that peace that follows completion, that holy stillness after warfare has ended. It is written in the book of Hebrews, chapter 1, verse 14. Are not all angels ministering spirits sent to serve those who will inherit salvation? They serve not as servants of man, but as stewards of promise. Their movements are aligned with heaven's will, and their joy is found in your obedience. When they return, it means the assignment they were guarding has been accomplished. They bring not just news, but restoration. Some carry healing in their wings. Others carry revelation in their touch. Their presence whispers one truth again and again. It worked. You may never see them with physical eyes, but your spirit recognizes the shift. The heaviness that once surrounded you begins to lift. The confusion that clouded your path starts to clear. Even your thoughts feel lighter, freer, as if the atmosphere has been swept clean. That is often the mark of angelic return, not spectacle, but serenity. They have watched you through fire and flood. They've seen your tears fall like rivers, and they've stood guard over every broken place. Now they return not to rescue, but to rejoice. What was once battlefield has become holy ground. The prayers you thought vanished into silence are now returning as answered echoes. Heaven wastes nothing. Every word you've spoken in faith has produced motion in the unseen. In their presence, there is both awe and tenderness. Angels do not boast of their power. They marvel at your perseverance. They have seen humanity from the beginning. Yet every time a person chooses trust over fear, faith over fatigue, they rejoice as if it were the first miracle ever witnessed. That's what you've given. Heaven, wonder, renewed. And in their silent flight, they carry blessings you did not even know to ask for. Some bring peace to your mind. Others, strength to your body. Others, the quiet assurance that what has been started will not be left unfinished. Their return is heaven's way of saying, it is secured. Oh, look at what obedience has built. There is stability now where chaos used to live. There is calm where fear once whispered. Even in the smallest details of your life, there is order, divine, deliberate, unshakeable. This is the fruit of partnership between human faith and heavenly power. As the angels withdraw into light once more, they leave traces behind a trail of presence, a quiet reminder that heaven is never far. You will notice their nearness in small things, the sudden peace that interrupts worry, the unexplainable comfort during hard moments, the timely word that arrives just when you need it. Those are their signatures, subtle but certain, and though they return to their realms, their influence remains. They will watch as you continue your journey, ready to move again when the next chapter demands their strength. Heaven never leaves its vessels unattended. Once marked, always covered. Once aligned, always accompanied. So, stand still for a moment. Let gratitude rise. Feel the unseen wings brushing past, their motion stirring the air with light. They are not leaving because the story is over. They are leaving because the victory has been written. You have walked through the wilderness, endured the storm, stood the test, and now stand surrounded by completion. The angels depart, singing the same word that now fills your heart fulfilled. The air shimmers with their departure, like dust made of gold caught in sunlight. You realize they never truly leave, they simply move beyond sight. Peace remains, woven into the very atmosphere. It hums through your spirit like a remembered song, proof that heaven has finished what it began. You close your eyes and breathe. The silence around you isn't empty anymore. It's full of presence, of purpose, of promises kept. And somewhere within that stillness, eternity whispers, "Well done." The journey has brought you here to the quiet place after glory, to the calm that follows obedience, to the stillness where everything finally makes sense. You are no longer the same one who began this path. You have been undone and remade, emptied and filled again. The call that once frightened you has become your heartbeat. You no longer chase purpose, you live it. Heaven's voice still echoes, not in command this time, but in communion. The Father no longer speaks as one sending you into battle. He speaks as one walking beside you in peace. What was once assignment has now become alignment. The storms, the fire, the waiting, they were all teachers, shaping your spirit into something unshakable. You stand at the edge of destiny's horizon and realize it was never about arriving somewhere, it was about becoming someone. The final yes was not a single moment, it was every decision that led here. Every surrender, every choice to believe when sight failed. This is what eternity calls the eternal. Yes, not one act of faith, but a posture of heart that never stops agreeing with heaven. It is written in the book of Romans, chapter 8, verse 30, and those he predestined, he also called; those he called, he also justified; those he justified, he also glorified. End of 20. You feel the truth of it deep inside. The calling, the justification, the glory, they were not stages but strands woven together. Every part of the story has been holy, even the pieces you thought were mistakes. Grace has been the thread tying it all together, transforming fragments into a masterpiece. The eternal yes is not loud. It is quiet, consistent, rooted in love. It is the whisper that keeps saying, I am here. Lord, I still choose you. And heaven hears it every time. That sound not of shouting, but of surrender, is what keeps the universe balanced. What causes angels to move and creation to breathe. Now, as you look back, you see the pattern clearly. The whispers became words. The words became steps. The steps became flight. The angels moved. The fire spoke. And you followed. What felt like chaos was choreography. What seemed uncertain was strategy. The divine has been in every detail. You understand now that the journey was never linear. It was circular, always returning you to the same truth: love. Every calling leads back to love. Every test refines love. Every victory reveals love. The eternal yes is not duty. It's devotion. It's not obligation. It's overflow. And so, heaven rejoices, not because you performed perfectly, but because you persevered honestly. Your faith was never about flawless strength. It was about relentless surrender. You gave heaven your yes, and heaven gave you back yourself, the truest version, the one that was written before the beginning. There's a strange peace in completion. It doesn't shout, it sighs. You sense eternity exhale through you, as if heaven and earth both rest in the same rhythm now. The angels who return to report victory still sing somewhere beyond sight, their melody woven into the wind. Every breath you take feels like part of that song. This is the eternal, yes, not a destination, but a dwelling. You will carry it into every tomorrow. It will shape your words, soften your steps, and guide your choices. You are not striving anymore. You are flowing. The assignment that once felt like burden has become the reason your heart beats. The crown you wear is not made of gold, but of light. It cannot be seen by men, but is recognized by heaven. It represents victory. Yes, but more than that. It represents union. You and heaven have become inseparable in purpose. Now, the silence returns, but it feels like home. You realize that what began as a call ended as communion. The same voice that once said, "Go," now whispers, "Stay. Stay in love. Stay in faith. Stay in awe." This is your eternal posture, standing, shining, surrendered, and somewhere beyond time, a chorus of unseen witnesses rises in celebration. They speak your name, not as one who survived, but as one who completed. The scroll is closed, the seal remains, and the light burns without flicker. You have said yes, not once, but forever. And in that eternal yes, heaven has found its echo on earth. The heavens quiet as your spirit settles into peace. You no longer strive to hear God's voice, you live within it. Every breath carrying his cadence. Light wraps around you gently, not as fire this time, but as embrace. You feel both infinite and small, fully known, yet endlessly expanding within love. The journey has ended, yet it continues. Eternity opens like a door without hinges, and you step through, not leaving earth behind, but carrying heaven within you wherever you go. If this journey has stirred something within you, if you felt the quiet pull of recognition in your chest, the warmth of truth brushing against your spirit, know that this isn't an ending. It's the continuation of light moving through you. Every story heaven tells is eternal. And now, you carry one of its sparks. When you like or share this message, you aren't completing a task, you're opening another window for light to travel through. Somewhere, someone is standing where you once stood, uncertain, searching, hoping for a sign that heaven still sees them. Your gesture might become that sign. When you comment, it's more than words, it's a heartbeat. Every comment echoes into the unseen, becoming a small chorus of gratitude and hope. You never know who might read your words and feel a flicker of courage return to their soul. When you subscribe, it's like choosing to walk beside the flame instead of watching from afar. It's a quiet promise to keep growing, to keep learning the language of light, to stay connected to what reminds you that heaven still moves through ordinary lives. And if your heart ever whispers to donate, let it be an act of gratitude, not obligation. Giving is like planting another candle in the dark, letting warmth reach further than your own hands can go. Each gift is a seed of light, one that blooms in unseen places, nurturing souls you'll never meet, but will one day recognize in eternity's glow. So, carry this light forward through words, through kindness, through simple acts of faith. The story continues through you now, and somewhere, in the distance, heaven smiles and whispers, "Keep shining, M."